It's a rainy day in Calgary, so I'm deciding to record from my couch. You might be wondering why it's important to communicate science. So I'm going to just draw something here, so there's a bit of a visual. There is this gap that exists between the public and science. This gap is bad. So, the typical path for all sciences, you'll start off with a bachelor's in science, and then you do an MSc, and then finally you do your PhD. It's a long process, as it will total out to like 10 years. So it's a lot of commitment, a lot of investment, but there's some other things with that. So you start with just general sciences, and then at the end you get very specific onto a certain research topic. Generally, the more specific you get in science, the more complex it gets. They are speaking to in another language. This language is very specific towards an audience of other scientists. And this is not just geoscience, this is a lot of sciences in general. Because they're conversing in their own language, it kind of isolates a good chunk of the world from understanding what they're talking about. To bring it back to the conference, when I was there, because I'm in health science, I had no clue what most of these presentations were about. And that said, it's not like I fully needed to, but there are certain issues within science that the public should be knowing about. Now, this is where issues like COVID and climate change kind of come in, but don't click off the video just yet. I recognize that these are kind of charged topics, but they kind of need to be discussed because they're directly related to the next point, which is on misinformation. Now, with misinformation, I think that everyone can agree that misinformation is bad, and I believe that misinformation is a product of this gap between science and the public. So, what's the solution? We need to be better communicating with the public. And that's where science communication comes in. Because, these issues that they discuss, a lot of them affect everyone.
So we've seen that wildfires in the past 20 years or so have consumed more land than they did earlier. So this, of course, raises the issue of climate change.
It's a nice color scheme.
Know that wildfires, of course, remove coniferous vegetation from the land, and it also can enhance flooding simply from overland flow. So that now I'm going to turn to this November 2021 event. The highway was blocked, and a large number of people were stranded for many days. Very well, geez, we should have seen that coming. Yes, you should have seen it coming. $7.5 billion. This is $1 billion of those dollars. Incredible amounts of money. It is Canada's worst natural disaster.
That was interesting. Science needs to become more accessible, or else we're going to have a lot more issues down the road. If you go around that rock face, there's an old covered entrance to the mine shaft.
Oh, there's an attic?
Yeah. No question is a dumb question. as long as it is fueled by an interest to understand and it is asked in a respectful way. Vancouver Island University was smaller than most campuses. It reminded me a lot of the university I went to, Mount Royal. The professors from that university giving the tour were great at explaining things. Again, this reminded me of Mount Royal. I couldn't help but think that perhaps the smaller class sizes in the university helped create good communicators. What does that mean? Often when asking questions, most scientists at the conference would over-explain things. Over-explaining would just make me more confused. What is that noise though? It's nice and warm. What does that mean, like exchanging?
Oh, okay. Circulate another fluid. It makes the mine water sees its heat. Right?
Oh, because it like touches it.
So you've got an exchange to a fluid that then circulates the building.
Right. I met a seismologist who immediately knew how to explain things to me. Relating seismology to health science, she compared it to taking X-rays of the Earth. She was able to distill it in a way relatable to her audience. Her name was Dr. Sarah Jaye Oliva. I knew she needed to be interviewed to showcase her excellent communication skills.
I'm an earthquake seismologist. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Victoria. Right now I'm studying earthquakes along the western part of Canada. An earthquake in 2012 revealed that there's boundary seems to have convergence kind of motion. We call that subduction zone, or what could be a subduction zone. It's a big question whether it's actually. If it were a subduction zone, another subduction zone that you might know of was the Tohoku 2012 earthquake and tsunami. So
that was Japan, the earthquake in Japan.
That was an earthquake in Japan in 2011. It caused big disruption. Tsunami reached far. Because this kind of motion of plates, this kind of motion that can produce larger earthquakes and can produce more likely to produce tsunamis. Okay. So if we can get a better grasp of whether this convergence is early subduction or not, that would completely change kind of the hazards that we expect.
So we could be fine in Nanaimo, but if we're on the other side of the island facing the ocean, it'd be game over.
There's a possibility, but that's why we're studying it.
Cool. Need to get the building. Yes. I'm just getting footage. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but exactly. This, for example, even though he started recording. Cool. Yeah, so I'm here with Mathew Kemp. He came all the way from the UK. Why?
Because I really wanted to visit this part of the world, to be part of this amazing conference which is bringing together so many different people from so many different areas of research, and really see how my research and what I'm looking at can help with that in some way.
Nice, right on. And what is your research?
So I'm essentially trying to make maps of what's going on deep beneath our feet, so hundreds of kilometers beneath, using seismic waves, so wiggles generated by earthquakes, and using that to try and turn back time and work out how Alaska and the west coast of Canada and North America formed.
Wow. Is there something else interesting that you do?
Well, in my spare time, and possibly a bit of my not spare time, but no, mostly in my spare time, I write and perform songs about science, do some stand-up comedy and various other sort of science communication things.
Weather and climate are not the same, and for increasing temperatures we are to blame. To claim anything otherwise, well, that's just wrong, and we'll explain why within this handy song. The facts are all there, it's plain to see. I mean, ain't you seen Attenborough's documentary? Climate is changing and it's so enraging when words we're exchanging go over Bolsonaro's head. And while he's denying, not listening to scientists, they are not lying about what's ahead. Climate crisis.
I think that's a really important thing, trying to help the public and anyone really understand what's going on in the world and why it's important to them.
Oh yes, weather and climate are not the same. That may be confusing, but let me explain. Climate is weather averaged over time. It could be snowing or blazing sunshine, but single events cannot disprove the trend of overall temperatures. Watch them ascend.
Anything else to add?
It's been great to be here, and
How do you like Canada, I guess?
really enjoying Canada. I've seen some snow, I've seen some sun, I've seen the sea, forests, mountains. Love it.
Awesome, that's great. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
It's abundantly clear we wreck the atmosphere. Climate crisis, not the nicest. It's abundantly clear we wreck the atmosphere. Yes, of course, climate has changed in the past, but now temperature's increasing far too fast to be due to natural cycles alone. And we've put ourselves in the danger zone. Volcanoes increase greenhouse gases before, with death and destruction, extinctions galore. But this time it's our fault, a change that we can't halt. With the fossil fuel default we've had for so long. Since industry grew more, we've seen CO2 soar in bubbles from ice cores. It's all going wrong. But it could get better if we listen to Greta. And now we have set a bar of 1.5 degrees. To meet these conditions, let's reduce our emissions and also transition to new technologies. So, when someone's not sure what you're protesting for, if you're glued to the floor or to your MP have writ, sing with them this myth busting, hope that they start trusting that the world needs adjusting, because it's all gone to Climate crisis, not the nicest. It's abundantly clear we wreck the atmosphere. Climate crisis, not the nicest. Humans have caused it, it's our job to sort it. Let's take on this climate crisis. Thank you very much. That was okay. Whew, a bit intense there. But as I said yesterday, Roberta and I, we do this Geologise theatre thing. And this is sort of a musical flyer for a climate change denier.